Namaskar. I welcome you all for the series of lectures in modern Indian history. Today we are going to take up a very important topic, which is the coming of European powers or companies in India. This topic is very important in terms of understanding the Indian history, especially the modern Indian history, because without understanding the various aspects, or in different sense, the strength and weaknesses of European companies as well as the strength and weaknesses of our native rulers, we could not understand modern Indian history completely. In the 15th century, the first European company or first European vessel reached the Indian peninsula. We all know that in the year 1498, Vasco da Gama reached the port of Calicut, where he was welcomed by a Hindu ruler locally called as Zamorian. It is a very important historical development which turn around the future course, which had given an opportunity to all the European companies to start their commercial activities with India and Southeast Asia. It was a point of history which completely changed the future. Before going to understand the various events that took place and various events that actually important in terms of our examination, we need to understand why Europeans came to India and how they started their commercial activities here. The trade practices was not a new thing in India. From the ancient time, we were doing our trade and commercial businesses with the overseas powers. You can take up the example of Romans, who used to do, especially the Eastern Romans, who used to do business with Pandya rulers, and they mentioned in their inscriptions and scriptures also. In the medieval part, the land route trade and sea trade was done by the Arabian traders. And one very interesting fact you need to understand, that Islam was initially introduced in India by the traders and not by the invaders. It was the Arabian traders who introduced Islam in India. And even at that point of time, no Indian rulers opposed their activity, which was very much alien to them. And when the native Indians accepted Islam and converted to Islam, we do not have any proof of opposition from the royalty or from the local authorities. The trade activities was actually conducted by the Arabian traders who used to come to Gujarat and southern Venezuela to buy various products. The important ones are definitely the spices. Black pepper was the most important one. I had told in my earlier lecture also that it was also called as Yavanapriya. Silk, cotton, salt, bitter, used to make gunpowder. Precious stones, jewelry, gems and jewelry, you can say, handicraft items, especially those which are made by ivory, and many more other products. In return of silver, thanks to the Mughal emperors who started silver coin to increase the transaction and which helped in the development of trade and commerce. They used to give silver in return of all their purchase. Afterwards, via sea route, they used to go to Iran, Iraq, Syria, Egypt, and via land route, they used to purchase all the needy items from Multan and other cities, and via Multan they used to go to Arabia and afterwards the Roman Empire. Now from there, all these items were distributed to various European countries. We came to know about the hundi, which was a document of credit, a kind of insurance also. The process or the practice of hundi was also praised by various European companies because it gives a kind of security and it gives a kind of support for the traders and business people. It was the closure of the land route because it was ultimately the land route through which things were transported to the various European countries. You can reach till Egypt, Syria, Iran, Iraq, but ultimately you have to cross the Asia Minor part because Suez Canal was not in practice at that point of time. We all know that. So ultimately, the Turkey or the Asia Minor part was used to transport all these goods to the various European countries. And from Turkey, we all know that Italy was also a country where all these products reached in their various cities like Florence, Venice, where all the rich merchants used to live and used to buy all these goods to transport into various countries and cities. But when in the year 1451 Asia Minor was conquered by the Muslims or the Turks, all these practices or the transportation system came to an halt. And to get all these materials, all these goods, a new route was required. The only option was the sea route. To discover a new sea route to reach India and Southeast Asia, the responsibility was taken by a prince or a member of the royal family of Portugal, also known as Prince Henry. And because of his efforts and support given to the sailors, various attempt was taken place and various new discoveries also happened, like the discovery of America, discovery of South America, the discovery of the tip of Africa, and ultimately the discovery of India. India, not India, but the sea route to India. Vasco da Gama reached India. He was welcomed because we know as an Indian that what is the benefit of foreign investment or doing trade with foreigners. The Dutch followed the pattern of Portuguese. Afterwards, British came into the picture, and then French East India Company made their effort to gain from the Indian trade. Now, when Portuguese started their commercial activities, it was in 1503 when the first Portuguese fort was constructed in Cochin, and their first viceroy was Francisco de Almeida. Francisco de Almeida. There is a question which always came from my students, that why Portuguese did not establish or tried to establish their rule in India. They were never seen to make any effort to establish their political hegemony, except few instances or few territories they conquered. Like British and French, because in the future course we'll come to know about a fierce battle between the French and the Britishers. Though there may be some overseas regions for their struggle with each other, but the actual intention came later on too, and that was to establish their authority to get the maximum commercial benefits. But we never seen Portuguese in any such instances. What was the reason? Well, there are two major reasons for that. The first reason was that their greatest phase was somewhere around from 15 to 1650, where they were on their zenith of their power. They were at their apex point. And that particular phase was also considered as the greatest phase of Mughal Indian history. They could not afford to make any kind of enmity with the Mughals. Though Portuguese were considered as the most powerful naval force in the world, but in land, Mughals had an upper hand. So, the time was not into their favor. The second important reason was their religious intolerance. They believed in Roman Catholic Christianity and also believed that no one else or no other believer of any religion has the right to live. In all the territories they conquered, either in India or in any other country, they ensured that either the citizens accept Christianity or die. Their practice was very much brutal. Even they used to burn them. That was the reason that most of the Indian kings or authorities were not in favor to let Portuguese grow in India. So those were the two important reasons, and the third, which is also a very important point, was their own interest. They themselves were not interested in doing much of their trade in India, because the quality of spices in Indian Peninsula was not on a very good side in comparison to the quality of Southeast Asian countries. They targeted Southeast Asian countries, even Sri Lanka too, and they established their factories and also conquered new territories over there. They wanted to hold on few stations in India so that they can get cotton, silk and other handicrafts items. So there were three major reasons why Portuguese did not try to established their political hegemony over India. Now, the next power, the people from Netherlands, Holland, and their race is known as the Dutch, known as the most deadliest warriors in the world history. The Dutch, who followed the Portuguese everywhere they go on, and also taken up most of the territories from them. Dutch is also not a very important European company in terms of Indian history, because they came somewhere around 1605 and established their factory in Masulipatam. Their company was actually built in the year 1602. It was formed in 1602, and they established their first factory in Masulipatam. Afterwards, except the Battle of Badera, which they fought with the Britishers, which we'll discuss while discussing our next topic, the British conquest of India. There is no important events which we need to remember while talking to the Dutch. The next company is the British East India Company, which was formed in 31st December 1600, I think, by a royal charter. To do trade and commerce with India. Britishers were very much focused for India only. They established their factory in Surat. Though in the year 1599, Mildenhall came to India as a representative of East India Company. Afterwards, Captain Hawkins and then Sir Thomas Roe came to India to get some kind of support from the Indian rulers, especially the Mughal rulers. It was not an easy thing for them, because of the influence of Portuguese were very much there in the Mughal court or darbar, and they were not interested in any kind of competition with any European powers. It is a very normal thing for any company, because no one wants to have any kind of competition, so that they can got the maximum benefit of the monopoly of trade. They believed that it is their right because they discovered the sea route and don't wanted to give any kind of privilege to any other European power or any other power. But anyhow, the Indian rulers and the merchants have a different viewpoint. Because of the coming of European companies, they can get the maximum profit, because when there is more number of buyers and products are limited, there is a possibility to increase the price that would benefited all, like more tax for the state, more profit for the trader and the businessman, and more reward to the artisans. It was in a benefit of India and Indian people. The first phase of business with European powers. Britishers established their first factory in Surat, then in Hooghly. There was a regular tussle with each other. They also got their first factory at Masulipatam. Factory means what? Factory, it was not actually a manufacturing unit. It was an office and warehouses, because they were not here for manufacturing anything. They were here to buy various products from Indian businessmen and to sell it in higher prices to all over the world. Factory means office for record and warehouses to keep all their goods over there. And to safeguard their goods, they were always trying to fortify their factories, though it was not possible in the initial years. And when they misadventure to revolted against the Mughal authorities in the year 1686, it was crushed by the Mughals. They were fined somewhere around 2.5 lakh of rupees, which was huge amount at that point of time, because of their misadventure, and also signed a new treaty with new rules with the Mughals. Their commercial interest or the lust to get maximum profit was actually the reason which led them to challenge the Indian authorities also. The next company which came to India was the French East India Company, which was the last one, made by the government act in the parliament. The French Minister Colbert was the person who was behind the formation of French East India Company. And when they came to India, a new era of struggle and a new era of trade and commerce also came into existence. In the second phase of their commercial activities, when the Mughals, after the death of Aurangzeb, also started declining, and the process of disintegration led to the rise of several provincial powers in India, had given them a new opportunity to grow, not only as a commercial power, but also as a new political authority. The Golden Farman given by the Farooq Shiar to the Britishers, by which they were allowed to do all their commercial activities without paying excise duty in Bengal. And the misuse of Dastak was the main reason for their tussle with the Nawab of Bengal. At the same point of time, they had a fierce battle with the French East India Company, known as the Carnatic War, Anglo-French War, which we will discuss in our next lecture in greater detail. 3 battles took place between them, and that in actual sense did not only decided the future of British and French, but also decided the fate of Indians. So, in our next lecture, I'll discuss Anglo-French War and the conquest of India by Britishers. Till then, please take care of yourself. It is now the lockdown 4, and lockdown 4 actually consists you have to live with the corona. The slogan we have to remember: we have to be extra cautious, we have to be extra alert and avoid all kind of social gathering. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of your loved ones, your family. I'll meet you again on my next lecture. I have given you the topic. Please read it once so that you can understand it in a greater detail. Thank you so much.